International Labour Organization estimates that 3 out of 5 child workers in the Philippines work in hazardous conditions. The situation has worsened over the past decade because of dismal economic prospects, the rising population, and the inadequacy of social services. The Philippine Time-Bound Program aimed to alleviate the situation by rescuing and preventing some of these children from child labor, and by providing them with education and alternative livelihoods. The province of Bulacan, on the northern outskirts of Manila, is the Philippines' leading producer of pyrotechnic products. Under the law, the manufacture of firecrackers and other pyrotechnic devices must be done in designated zones and must meet health and safety standards. Yet most licensed manufacturers and dealers choose to subcontract local residents to do the job.
Mayroong namimili ng yari ng paputok. Pumupunta lang sila, naghahanap lang ng yari, bibili. Tapos pag ma-order na sila, magbibigay sila ng pera para igawa namin yung gusto nila, yung gaya ng fountain, mga losses, ganun sila. Tapos pagdating ng November, kukunin na nila yon. Ayun, saka lang yung bibigay nilang puhunan sa amin. Nakakabayad din kami sa kanya dahil kinukuna nila ng yari sa amin. Kami lang ang gumagawa.
Pyrotechnics is mostly a backyard industry, mainly located in the towns of Santa Maria and Bocaue. Studies show that some 100,000 individuals make a living from it, including children from 5 to 17 years old. Children are usually involved in rolling fuses and wicks or wrapping firecrackers, jobs for which they are paid very little.
Kapag po yung quitis, 50 po 1,000. 50 ho 1,000. Pag naman po sa ganito, 1,000 po, 25 po ata. Hindi man po kasi nagpapalo natin, yung nanay ko po nagpapalo ng ganito. Kapag po may gagawin yung nanay ko, sumusubok po akong magkanya. Tulong ko po sa mga kapatid ko at sa nanay ko. Tapos, nagtrabaho rin po ako sa Ganfu Karate ko at quitis naman po ginagawa po namin. Tapos dito po ako, nasanay po ako dito. Nakikita ko po nanay ko po gumagawa nito. Nasanay po ako.
Most children engage in pyrotechnics work to help parents who are out of work or not earning enough to feed large families. It is these children who usually drop out of school.
Ay sa hirap ng buhay nga, hindi ko sila mag-aral kaya nung papasok sila sa eskwelahan. Minsan walang tanghalian, maglalakad ang punta sa bundukan sa eskwelahan. Pagdating dito minsan walang tanghalian, sabi mama, wala ka akong baon.
In 2002, the ILO provided technical and financial support to a concerted effort led by the provincial government of Bulacan and government and non-government organizations to rescue some 2,000 children who were either working or were at risk of working in the pyrotechnic industry. Government workers, child rights advocates, and other concerned individuals and organizations went around the barangays, finding these children and getting them interested in going back to school.
Mismong pumunta sila rito, nagbahay-bahay sila sa mga talaga. Tapos pinalista ko yung mga anak ko. Ayan, hanggang sa nag-a-attend niya kami ng meeting.
I will sing of the mercies of the Lord, forever I will sing, I will sing.
Social worker Rebecca Antonio is a member of the United Methodist Church, which works with the non-government organization Lingap Kabataan. She is one of some 50 professionals all over the province who were trained to become instructional managers, or IMs, under the Department of Education's Alternative Learning System.
Every Saturday or Friday, handa kami, minimit namin sila for session sa learning center. Kasi hindi ba sa alternative learning system, we are required for 800 hours, 400 hours sa learning center and 400 hours for individual lesson.
For 10 months, starting late 2006, Antonio and other IMs held classes in the villages where child workers and their siblings lived, teaching children basic subjects such as math, language, and health.
Kumain ng masustansyang pagkain.
Ang assessment namin sa kanila talagang gustong-gusto nilang makatapos ng pag-aaral. Ang sabi nga nung isang bata ay ito na yung huli kong pag-asa kasi hindi ko na kayang bumalik pa sa formal education.
The Alternative Learning System, or ALS, does not replace formal education. But at the end of the term, the students may earn credits for it if they pass equivalency tests. But more than anything else, it rekindles children's interest in school and learning.
Malaki rin na itulong ng ALS sa amin, lalo-lalo sa mga anak ko. Kasi naiiwas sila sa ganong paggagawa ng ganon, mapagpatuloy nila pag-aaral. Kahit paano, naipapasok nila sa ulo lang, naibabalik yung mga pinag-aralan nilang natututo ang mga bata.
Most of them are overage na for formal education in elementary. Ayun na nilang bumalik, tatanda na nila. So itong alternative learning system, ang talagang alam ko na the best for them na just elementary education matapos para magkaroon naman sila dyan sa secondary education.
Number 15, ang sagot ay 2.
The alternative learning system is not only based in villages, but also conducted in public schools run by the Department of Education's Bureau of Alternative Learning Systems. The school-based sessions attract older students who are victims of commercial sexual exploitation of children, or CSEC, one of the 6 worst forms of child labor in the Philippines.
Nagbuntis po kasi ako ng 14, tapos nag-baby na po ako ng 15. So, nag-stop. Tapos pagkatas po noon, 17, nag-work na ako sa restaurant. Di bali, magti 3 years na kami dun sa restaurant, sa Renatos.
Studies done in Bulacan show that these minors are employed as singers, waitresses, or guest relations officers in nightclubs and sing-along bars in towns where travelers pass through. But these children find it hard to leave such jobs, which give them easy money.
Kasi po, sa ALS po nakakapagtrabaho pa ako eh. Tsaka po, kung mag-formal ako, sa ALS po, medyo wala pong ganagastos. Sa po, masyadong malaki. Yung kinikita namin, minsan kasi nagpapadala rin kami sa nanay namin sa Bicol.
The ALS classes pave the way for vocational education for some of these children, which includes hotel and restaurant management.
Ngayon ko lang po yung naisip yung future ng baby ko. Kaya ngayon nag-aaral ako dito para sa baby ko po, hindi para sa akin. Ganun po.
One of the worst forms of labor that Filipino children engage in is work in the sugarcane fields. ILO-IPEC studies conducted earlier estimated that about 60,000 children work in haciendas, a large concentration of which are found in Negros Island. Work in sugarcane farms is seasonal, and adults are employed only a few months in a year. When their parents are out of work or become indebted, children are forced to bail them out by doing the work themselves.
Yung trabaho ko yun sa kampo, pamatdan. Yung pamatdan ba? Mahirap yung trabaho yan. Maliit yung sweldo, Pero makaano ka ng shin siguro. Shin isang araw, pero mabigat yung trabaho. Mahirap sa kampo. Kasi abang matanda ka, dyan ka lang, di ba? Kung isipin mo, parang walang pinbukasan, di ba?
Fidel Nicoico once harvested cane in the fields until he and his friend Arvin Flores were chosen to take part in a vocational training program run by the Sugar Industry Foundation, supported by the ILO.
Pumunta sila sa barangay namin, tsaka yung kinokollect nila yung mga name ng mga kabataan doon na nagtrabaho sa kampo. Tapos, bali nag-fill up kami. May binigay sila sa amin na application later. Kaya yun, fill up pa namin. Then mga 2 weeks, mga 1 month siguro yun, bumalik sila doon sa aming barangay. Tapos sabi nila yung mga kabataan daw na nag-fill up, ang bali scholarship yun. Magte-training daw kami sa ISDA. 4 months later, bumalik yung officer ng CFI na nag-follow up sa amin dati noon nang training kami sa ISDA. Tapos sabi nila, nakahanap na daw sila ng company na pwede namin pag-apprenticean.
Arvin and Fidel were among a group of sugarcane workers who found alternative employment as apprentice mechanics.
Pero nung nasimula yung shipping sponsor ba yung scholar, doon ko naisip na may tugtong yung pangarap ko sa buhay ko na kahit sa ganitong automotive talagang makakatulong sa iyong sarili, di ba?
Gusto ko yung maulit yung program nila dun sa amin. Kasi marami talaga mga kabataan dun na walang trabaho, hindi nag-aaral. Kaya gusto ko maulit yung program nila para kahit paano matulungan din sila.
The ILO, through its partner organizations in Negros, also offered other vocational training to children working in the sugarcane fields. One such training was making ornamental needlework, known as smocking, for children's dresses. Embroidery is a traditional skill in Binalbagan town, and under the program in selected municipalities in Negros Occidental, 500 teenagers were trained to develop this skill as an alternative source of income. One of those who finished the course was Jessica Nueva, who used to work in the sugarcane fields.
Nang nakasulod ko sa training, kay may nagkatumadis ako na namangkot ko yung pila na edad ko, nagsiling ka 15. Tinagambal sa nga mag-intra ko sa smacking skills, tinagambal ko oo. Tinag-intra ko, tinagambal sila nga Sabado-Domingo nga mong klase, bali 6 days tanan. So nagsulod ko sa Dicker, kami nagpanahi, tuduan kami nila sa among trainers. Laylaing tudo sa amon, nangapos malang smacking skills kung kabalo ka. Pero do medyo would life plus sa una-una, pero mabalaan mo na hapos na malang nang mabulig sa akon, kay para makabulig sa sa pamilya ko kag naka-enhance sa akon nga skills kag talents sa pagpanahi.
In July 2007, the training ended with participants given certificates of attendance, a ticket to better employment. The Department of Trade and Industry showed its support for the project by linking them with potential buyers. Under the Time-Bound Program, ILO also targeted children of sugar farm workers who are of the preschool age. Elementary teacher Luz Ledesma Sol is one of the 150 daycare workers, implementing the preschool teaching module developed by the Department of Education and the Department of Social Welfare.
Ginatudloan din sila namon pagi sa amon pagtudlo sa ila sa mga introducing alphabet, numbers, colors, pag amo na kung ari di sila sa daycare center, they are ready for grade 1. Ara na sila. Kay kabalo na sila mag-identify colors, mag-count numbers, kag kabalo na sila mag-grade sang alphabet. Magsala sa ilang mga names, Ready na sila sa mga addition, subtraction for grade 1.
By introducing the value of education as a foundation for learning, they hope to eventually reduce the likelihood that these children will drop out of school and instead become productive members of society. The provincial government implemented a daycare program instilling in young minds the dangers of working in sugarcane fields and the need for them to have an education. At least 500 children engage in mining and quarrying in Camarines Norte province. The province has the highest percentage of young laborers, with 1 out of every 4 children working, but very few of them stay in school. Children involved in gold panning and mining become the targets of the ILO's Time-Bound Program against the worst forms of child labor. One of them is 17-year-old Jonalyn Makatangay.
Kasi napatigil kami ng pag-aaral kasi kulang sa pera. And then, yung pang mga, halimbawa, pag nag-eskwela ka nga, ganun, wala rin, di patigil-tigil, di nagkakabud rin. Talagang sa kaburan ang walang ibang mapunta ko, di katagang kabudan.
Ano nga po yan? Sabi ko, mag-aaral ka sa amin ng 10 months, papasok ka, pero magpaparegistered ka muna. May bayad po ang registration, sabi niya. Sa ako'y wala, free. Kasi yung ang project talaga yan ng ILO para sa child laborers. Sabi ko, ilan ang edad mo? Daw siya, 16 pa 17. Okay, tama yung edad mo. Kasi ang target namin dito ay 17 years old, 15 to 17 years old.
What operations are we going to employ in this problem? Who can solve the problem on the board?
Jonalyn took part in the alternative learning system and got her high school diploma after she passed the Department of Education's equivalency test. With the help of the local government, Jonalyn also managed to get support for a college education.
Proud rin ako talaga sa sarili ko. Proud na proud ako. Ang sarap pa ng piling nag-aaral. Focus sa pagpangarap sa mga kapatid ko marami na. Kaya gusto kong talagang matupad. Na yung ko sunod sa akin, babae, gusto ko makapag-aral siya, makapagtapos ng high school or college kung kakayanin ko man. Tapos yung kapatid kong lalaking bunso, gusto daw niya maging engineer. Gusto ko maibigay yung ganun sa kanya. Gusto kong lahat ng gusto na maibigay ko na hindi na ibigay ng magulang ko.
Sa'yo ako lang. Sa'yo na naman.
The program to rescue children working in the most hazardous jobs requires the cooperation of their families. In the town of Xiaton, in Negros Oriental, hundreds of children are engaged in dangerous deep-sea fishing called kubkub, done mostly at night. Here, the intervention was through parents.
We have other action programs that are addressing the root cause of child labor, which is poverty. So to address this, they have thought, or our partners have thought of designing programs that on livelihood, improving the livelihood or the economic status of families, so that their compulsion or their need for child labor will be reduced, if not completely removed. We have partners who have initiated microcredit scheme for these families. Before they can start, of course, before they can start these livelihood activities, they would need some seed capital, small capital to use. So our partner in the same place, in Oriental Negros, had also set up a microcredit program or microcredit scheme, which is community-based, meaning that the members of this microcredit group are mostly the mothers of the children affected by child labor, families affected by child labor.
Community organizations here set up a successful microfinance program and followed this up with a health insurance scheme for which members paid a premium. The idea behind the health program was to protect families against sudden illness or health emergencies involving parents, problems which often force children to take on their parents' responsibilities.
In Bulacan, these livelihood projects were mostly implemented by the Department of Labor in Region 3 and by some NGOs like the Sarmiento Foundation Incorporated. They conducted skills training, and the mothers and the children, older children, participated in the training in soap making, training in cosmetology, beauty culture, and reflexology. But these children and these families are families doing pyrotechnics before. So they shifted to another income generating activity.
Among the worst forms of child labor is abusive domestic work. Yet many teenage girls take on such jobs to escape poverty. Most of them travel to Metro Manila from faraway provinces like Davao, usually by ship. Through a partnership with the NGO Visayan Forum, the ILO has taken measures to prevent this problem. At the port of Davao City, social workers and security guards intercept and question minors attempting to board vessels bound for Manila. This is one form of direct action taken by Visayan Forum with the help of port authorities and shipping companies.
Ang bayan silungan sa dauman po ay dinayo ng Philippine Ports Authority or ng management ng pantalan ng SASA para i-monitor po yung illegal recruitment at saka human trafficking support. So huwag po kayong matakot. Verification lang po ito. So kanina may na-identify na minor, evident naman sa physical appearance nila na hindi pa fully developed yung bodies. So na-verify agad na sila ay minors, which was 13 and 14, same family name pero hindi sila magkapatid, sila ay magpinsan lamang. Sa assessment po natin kanina, ang sabi ng mga minors, wala po silang, hindi po known ang destination nila sa Bulacan. So ibig sabihin, confirm na minor sila at confirm na wala silang mabigat na rason para magpunta doon at walang papeles. So yun po, nag-assess po tayo na disallowed or hindi po sila pwede i-allow mag-travel without travel permit from the local and municipal social welfare office ng kanilang lugar. Sa ordinansa ng Davao on traveling minors.
Visayan Forum gets its authority from a city ordinance that requires traveling minors to present documents. The unspoken fear is that minors who travel are headed for hazardous work far from home.
Our intention really is to protect the minors and the possible victims of trafficking by knowing what is the real purpose of their travel. So if the purpose of travel is more inclined to becoming victims of trafficking, we really disallow the travel. It's very difficult to monitor minors once they enter the vessel and then they are in voyage. Because during in voyage, there are many potential things that can happen to them. They can be recruiters, and upon disembarkation at the destinations, they can even be lured by recruiters at the port.
There are an estimated 300,000 children employed as domestic workers all over the country. Most of them work long hours for very little pay. Some of them, like 16-year-old Nina, were also abused by their employers.
Pinuntahan po ako ng ate ko kung gusto ko daw magtrabaho sa Manila. Tapos noon, nagsabi ko, ano po yung ate yung tatrabaho namin sa Manila. Sabi po ng nagtawag sa kanila na kung gusto ko doon magtrabaho, ng daw kasambahay po. Tapos nun, pumayag naman po ako kasi sabi daw yung sahod namin, 2,500 po. Nung dumating kami po sa tatrabawan na po namin, hindi pala namin alam po na may 3 bata po. Maliliit pa po yung mga bata. Tapos tinanong namin yung employer namin kung magkano yung sahod namin. Sabi niya po, 1,500 lang po. Tapos noon, umiyak na kami.
But that was only the start of Nina's ordeal. Shortly after she arrived, she was accused of theft and jailed for 2 nights. Her employer eventually dropped the charges and again made her work long hours with no rest.
Sinabi ko sa kapitbahay, tulungan niyo naman po ako, hindi ko na talaga kaya dito. Tapos noon binigyan ako ng number dito sa sa Visayan Forum.
Visayan Forum runs a shelter in Manila that houses child domestic workers or provides counseling to those living with abusive employers.
Good afternoon.
Monica handles the Visayan Forum hotline. She was herself a child domestic worker who went through unspeakable abuse and had decided to channel her anger towards advocating for a better deal for domestic workers.
Sumapi. Kami po yung tumutulong sa mga kasambahay. But, anong tulong ang kailangan mo ngayon para sa mga? Nag-full-time volunteer po ako dito. Kasi para po makatulong din sa mga kasambahay na iba. Para hindi rin sila matulad sa akin na hindi nila alam ang gagawin nila, saan sila pupunta. Kasi dati nung nagkakasambay pa ako, hindi ko alam kung saan ako pupunta. Hindi ko alam, may organisasyon pa lang ng mga kasambahay. Kaya gusto kong ipaalam sa kanila na meron talagang tumutulong at merong organisasyon ng kasambahay. So, sumapi. Tumutulong talaga akong mag-outreach para sa mga advocacy. Para mas marami pang makaalam na kasambahay na meron talaga. Marunong na akong mag-computer. Tapos, tinuruan kasi nila ako. Marunong na akong gumawa ng PowerPoint, sa Microsoft Word. Minsan nga nag-i-internet na rin po. Kunyari, may assignment, mga research work namin sa school. Ako na po nagre-research.
Through Visayan Forum's help, Nina eventually made it back home to Negros Island. Local social workers met her and took her back to her family. With her return, Nina will have to deal with family realities that forced her into abusive domestic work, poverty, and the frequent quarrels between her parents. But these are now bearable compared to her ordeal in Manila.
Parang nakalipad ako sa langit. Saya-saya ko pa. So, yun na yan po. Tapos nagsaya din ni nanay na nakita niya kami. Tapos nag-anway kami. Umiyak si nanay. Sa pagkita ni tatay sa akin, umiyak din. Ganun. Magpasalamat sila na nakauwi ako. Natutunan ko na po na mali pala yung magtrabaho na bata ka pa po.
As the ILO's Time-Bound Program ends, more than 23,000 children have been withdrawn from the worst forms of child labor. Thousands of affected families have been provided with livelihood support, and more stakeholders have been engaged to take part in continuing efforts to prevent children from working in the most hazardous trades. There is now greater awareness of the need to preserve the potentials of the country's most valuable resource, its children.